Hey there, it's Dr. Spates. Shout out to Judith March for my awesome trucker hat. This week, my show was taken over by three aspiring and amazing new teacher to the profession. I was so excited to talk with them and let them take over the show. We had a great conversation about in education, we have educator speak. So we talked about what we call MTSS, but which stands for multi-tier systems of support. So essentially, how are we going to support all students? What are the things that we're going to do for all children in our classrooms, in our schools? What are the extra interventions that we're going to put in place for students who we see who are not thriving in our environments? And then as the third tier, what are we going to do for those students? We've tried the tier 1. We've tried the additional interventions in tier 2. What are we going to do for those students to ensure that every single child in our school is served well? We discuss incredible strategies, and even though these women are new to the profession, they are not inexperienced, and they share a treasure of gems that I'm excited to share with you. So welcome to episode 6 of On the School Bus with Dr. Spates. Let's go.
Welcome to On the School Bus with Dr. Spates, the podcast dedicated to advancing creativity and innovation in education. Each week, we invite educators, innovators, and creatives from across the country doing the real work in schools to hop on the school bus with me, Dr. Spates. Together, we explore what's working. Whether you lead from an office, a classroom, or anywhere in between, this podcast is your vehicle for creative ideas, bold leadership, and strategies that have been put to the test where it counts in schools. Because our children, families, caregivers, and communities are counting on us to equip the next generation for success. Let's go. All right. Welcome, everybody, to a very special episode of On the School Bus with Dr. Spates. Today, it is not just one, it's not just two, but there are 4 of us. So the tables are actually going to get turned where I get to be the guest and interviewed by these 3 amazing women. And I'm going to hand it over to Miss Christal to take it from there.
Okay, so hello, everybody. My name is Christal. And on today's episode, we're actually going to be learning about MTSS and RTI with Dr. Spates. Okay. So the reason why we'll be talking with Dr. Spates is because we know she's an exceptional leader here in the high desert area. Not only that, she has 20 years of experience in education, including 15 years in the classroom, 5 years as a principal, and she brings so much wisdom and heart to the profession. And as new teachers, we definitely want to learn from her as we go into the classroom ourselves. So as she said, my name is Christal, and I'll go ahead and pass it over to my classmates.
My name is Nicole.
And I'm Yesenia.
Before we get started, I have a question for you guys. Okay, so I'm so excited to be among women and people who want to be teachers and be a part of, it really is, I think, the best profession on the planet, because one changed life, it changes generations and families. So throughout the life of your career, do you guys want to do middle school, elementary, high school?
Early elementary.
Early elementary?
Yeah. Elementary.
I love middle school.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you think about 30 kids over, 30 kids per year over 30 years, that's a lot of children that you'll be impacting. Middle school, even more, your contractual limit in our district is 174. So that's thousands of generations that you guys can change. So with that, I'm always interested in hearing what inspired people to enter the profession. Is anybody willing or comfortable sharing?
Yeah. So I will say for me, ever since I was probably first started college, I kind of had an idea what I wanted to do, but I wasn't 100%, but I knew I wanted to work in a school somehow. I would say I was definitely that student that I feel like fell through the cracks. So I figured the best way to make an impact for people coming up behind me, and also I entered education already as a parent, so also for my son, was to work in schools in some capacity. So I've always worked in education, and I just never actually considered being a teacher. I was always support staff until I, saw my son. He actually was in private education all the way until middle school. And I was actually really nervous because of my own experiences to put him into public education.
You hear about stories. It makes sense about what happens.
So when he did go into public school and I saw just the community and the things that were happening, I was like, oh my goodness, like this is what I've been looking for, like the change and all the things that I want to do, it's already being done. So I want to be a part of it.
I love that. Thank you for entering our profession.
Yeah, I'll share.
Okay.
When I was in high school, I kind of just went along and didn't know what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
But senior year, I became like a teacher's assistant in a
Awesome.
special education class, like a mod severe class.
Okay.
And just, I don't know, something about that class just opened it up. And I was like, oh, this is exactly where I need to be.
I love
So I
that.
started as special ed, but then I general ed is definitely where
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
most comfortable.
I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
For me, it started in high school. I would volunteer my junior and senior year at the elementary school, like TK, pre-K level.
Okay.
And then in college, like Christal mentioned, like I had my son
Mm-hmm.
and teaching him like the alphabet and seeing him
Yes.
learn and grasp that like really like caught my attention. So I was just like, this is maybe something I would want to do, but I wasn't too
Yes.
sure. Once I graduated college with a degree in child development, I was like, okay, this is something I want to do. And I started being like a teacher assistant, but I mean, it was great, but I felt just like I've always wanted my own classroom and
Yes.
teach how I
Yes.
want to teach.
Yes.
So that's where it starts. That's why I'm on this journey.
Oh, that's awesome. So our children are lucky to have you, and just always hold on to that why, even when it gets hard, just keep going. And I think educators, I don't know what it is about us, but I talk to my colleagues at my site a lot that we are perfectionists. So you are probably perfectionists too. But try not to be, read the environment, you have to we say tenured, or, we want you to get tenured, right? So you kind of have to read the political room of the environment where you're teaching in. But once you kind of get cleared, just, hold on to that. Don't be a perfectionist. Take risks, try new things, because our children's needs are ever changing within a year, within a semester. So just give yourself some freedom to take risks and have fun with your students. So yeah, thank you. Oh, I'm glad to be here with you guys. Okay. All right, I'm ready.
Okay, so for this episode, it's mostly about response to intervention.
Okay.
So in a simple, clear-cut way, how would you describe RTI to new teachers like us?
Okay. So there's been a shift in education. There was a response to intervention. Now you'll start to hear MTSS, or multi-tiered system of support. With RTI in the past, what I've seen at different places is it's a process used to really support students who are not thriving in our environment. Teachers meet, gather, share data, strategies to support our students. It's really difficult in middle school, in secondary, I'll say. I haven't been in high school, so my world is elementary, but really middle school. Elementary schools seem to have it down in the way that they support students, but in the system that I work in, our assistant superintendent of educational services is phenomenal. And so that is one of her babies, is MTSS. But I like to look at it and think of it more than just a process, but really a lens. Even in my role as a principal, it's the lens that I look at my school. So RTI, a lot of times it's just like behavior and academics. But now MTSS, I'm looking at the school and we're looking at students academically. How are they doing? Social, emotionally, how they're doing. And then we also look at behavior. So it's looking at all three of those things. We can't just look at academics. We can't just look at behavior because if a child, I always say, I don't believe in children being bad, right? I believe that they have things that are on their heart, in their mind, and we may see it in terms of behavior, but we have to pay attention to all three of those things. And so for you guys, just for new teachers, even when you're looking at students, it can be hard and frustrating because you're in the moment. You have 174 students or you have 30, and then you have academic pacing and you have all of these things that you need to do. But I just encourage you to use the lens to really think about the root cause. So as you look at children, think about all three of those things, not just the academic, like, oh, they're not getting it. Like, think beyond strategies and differentiation, and try to get to know your students so that you can understand maybe like what's happening at home or what their educational path has been. As an example, in IEPs, I work with my team. So we may have students who are in foster care, right, or who are unhoused. And there tends to be, for some reason, I think it's DCFS, but I'm not sure. But I feel like they encourage their caregivers to get an IEP for your student, right? Individualized education plan. But is there really a cognitive issue where the child is struggling, or have they been out of school? Have they been moved from foster home to foster home to foster home? So they just have gaps in their education. Gaps in their education may not need an IEP. It may need the MTSS process. And so that's what we've worked to build at our site. I worked with several teachers my first year because it was one of my bosses, something that was very important to her. And so I've learned a lot from her in this. But we put together a process where it's asset-based, really focusing on like the positive. So what do our students do well? Are they argumentative? That's good. Frustrating while you're teaching, maybe, right? But that's a great skill that they have confidence and they can speak and all of those things, right? So very asset-based, looking at all the things the student brings to the table. Culture, gifts, all of those things. And then we decided to put together surveys so we can actually see too, how is the student experiencing us as a school, or how are they experiencing you as a teacher? Because we're not perfect, right? Like our environments aren't perfect. And being an educator does require constant reflection because humans respond to our environments, right? Humans respond to different humans differently. So then looking at the student to say, okay, what is it maybe about our school that like we're not doing well? So we give them space to speak freely on a survey, their parents to speak freely about how they're experiencing us. And then we give space to our teachers to also speak to how the child is doing. We look at academic data, test scores, all the benchmark assessments that your district does, classwork, and then really just sit down with the student present, their caregiver, and then just develop goals. So what do you want to work on, and letting the student even lead that conversation. And then we have a process where we put in place where we come back again after we put together the plan in 6 weeks to see how the student is making progress. Really, it's positive, it's asset-based, it's not a pathway to special education. That's not the goal. It's being really transparent in terms of like all the resources and supports that are available within the school environment or the classroom to ensure we can do our best to ensure that the child is successful. So I would say for me, MTSS is really a lens looking at those three things and like how I even manage the school and serve our community. But for teachers, it's looking at all three of those lenses as you're looking at students who really need support and aren't thriving in your classrooms. And then working with your colleagues and administrators to see what systems, what do we have in place to support the social emotional needs of the student, the academic, and then like the positive behavior pieces.
Thank you.
Yeah. And then please feel if you have like follow-up questions or you're like, hey, that doesn't make sense. Like, please feel free.
That was a great answer.
That's a very good answer, right?
I was like, okay.
Please, because I want it to be helpful for you guys too.
So I did have a question for our us being new teachers. I wanted just some clarity on like what do we do? What is the role of a teacher in MTSS, and also what does MTSS look like in the classroom? I know as an administrator, you guys do multi-tier systems of support for the entire campus, but how do we do that well in our classrooms?
Okay. The process for us, so we're in year 3 of putting together this process for our school site. And so we're learning and sort of iterating as we go. So the first 2 years, I would say even 3, what that looked like for teachers is we would invite teachers to come join those meetings. So with the parent, with the student, with the admin counselor, and our learning support teacher. What's challenging though is it's hard to get you guys out of the classroom because the meetings take place during the day. So we have to find period coverage. And sometimes that's not always easy. Typically we pay to have a roving substitute teacher on our campus for professional learning and all of those things every year. But that's been the challenge. And so what I've talked about with our team is actually adjusting our MTSS meetings so that they take place during our professional learning time. In the district that we work in, that's on Wednesdays. And in middle school, there's an hour professional learning in the morning and then an hour in the afternoon. Putting those MTSS meetings on one of those Wednesdays so that teachers can easily participate. And it's not just one teacher. We can bring the whole team in so parents really get sort of a larger view of what's happening with their student on campus. That's how they participate at our site and our process, but every school's process may be different. Then in the classroom, I think it's really just as you are teaching, I mean, you do a great job of this, really getting to know your students and building that culture and community, because you would be surprised. You can go from class to class and every room feels so different. Feels incredibly different. And not connected to your question, but I would encourage you, when you guys start teaching on your prep period, see if you can just visit your colleagues' classes to just be inspired and get new ideas. Like, hey, I'm a new teacher. I want to get some great ideas. Can I come visit? And you can even talk to your principal or assistant principal to see who might be some great classes to visit. But I think it's good to see everybody, because you'll see great things and you'll see things like, oh, I don't think that I'll do things that way. But it's really to get to know your students. And so a lot of times, especially our math department, right? They're like, no, we have to get to the content. But it's important to spend that time in the beginning doing that and really embedding it in the way you teach all the time, because the students, when they sense that you really care about them and you have those relationships in place, then they will choose to learn from you, because students choose, right? You can be the greatest teacher with the greatest strategies and be on pace. But if Krishna decides, I don't really feel like she likes me because it's that simple for students, then I'm not learning from you, right? And so don't be afraid to invest that time in the beginning and then building it into your lesson all along. Because when you get to know students, you can sense, because I can see it even when I'm greeting them in the morning or even after school, like you can just feel, right, with people who you know, that they're having an off day, right? That may guide or inform like how you structure things for them, or making calls home and connecting with parents. For MTSS, it really starts with relationship. One of the things that our staff did last year, we intentionally affirmed students and then would track that. So create a system for that. And so simple as just printing your roster and then just keeping track of every time like you intentionally affirm a student. Not like, oh, Yesenia, you're great, or Nicole, you're awesome. No, Yesenia, you're a great writer. Have you thought about like you could write a book one day, right? Or Nicole, like you have great argumentation skills. You're a great speaker and you like to fight. Like you can fight for people one day. Like you can be an attorney, but really speaking life and possibility into students, and then just tracking it, putting a star next to their name on your roster. And then that connection and relationship is going to go a long way. Another thing that our teachers do, they send postcards. So just positive postcards home to students. And that's another thing that you can just systematize and just track to make sure everybody is seen. And it's a great reflective tool that nobody else needs to see, where you can see like, ooh, there's like these 7 kids like I haven't affirmed, and nobody needs to see that. But that's a great place for you to reflect like, ooh, what is that about? Okay, let me work on whatever bias that is. Because when I was a teacher, my boys would be like, Dr. Spates, Mrs. Spates, you favored the girls. And I was like, oh. And I had to think about it. And I'm like, oh, they're right. You know, like when we ask to go to the bathroom, you automatically say no. But when they ask, you're like, okay. But that's the thing that makes us equal. We all have bias, right? So it's a great reflection tool, and it's a great relationship building tool. And there's huge neuroscience to really back that up, that like that relationship piece has to be in safe place. Students need to feel safe with you. They need to trust you. And then when all those pieces are in place, then they will learn from you, right? And so MTSS is really just seeing who's not thriving, and then thinking about reflecting, figuring out why they're not thriving, and then just thinking about what can I do differently to do that, and not taking it personal when they're not thriving. It's not that you're a horrible teacher or I'm a horrible principal. Like, no, I just have to figure out what works for this student. It's not personal, right? But when we make it personal, then we're not learning. I did an interview with a principal this weekend, and so he has this idea that our thoughts recruit other thoughts. So if I'm making it personal, that Christal, she's being defiant, she doesn't want to learn from me, I'm going to recruit similar thoughts, but maybe something was off today, or, then it's inquiry. right? And I'm recruiting other thoughts to help me get to the root of the problem. And a lot of times we don't even just ask kids, like, what's happening? Like, I feel terrible at math, So like, okay, she doesn't have the confidence, so then I can build her up in that area. So for teachers, back to your classroom, I know it sounds simple, but it's not. It has to be intentional, really building relationship. I remember I was in my doctoral program and I was reading some study working on my dissertation, but it just talked about the amount of students who don't feel seen. They've gone through high school and no adult has ever affirmed them or seen them, which made me think about, and I didn't come up with the idea of the whole roster. I got it from somewhere, recruiting other thoughts, like how can I make sure like all the students on our campus are seen? So somebody great did it. I don't know who it is, but thank you. But even though it seems natural, like, we all go into education, not all of us, but most of us, because we love children, you guys definitely do. Everybody doesn't. So it doesn't come natural. So, so be intentional about that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, what does progress monitoring look like at your school? And how do you think that could support other teachers?
I love data. 3 teachers, it was so funny. In my first year, for their ugly Christmas sweaters, it says, that wasn't very data informed of you. I'm like, yes. Your district will require you to do benchmark testing. So you'll get the academic piece. You'll see that in test quizzes or however you decide to grade in your classroom. For me, looking at the school site, I'm always collecting data, just on time to class, suspensions, behavior referrals. And so you can do that on a classroom level, really looking at behavior. And then one thing I did, and it takes courage to do, and nobody has to know because you don't have to share it, but it takes a lot of courage. I asked my instructional leadership team last year to come up with a series of questions so students could evaluate the teachers. So they came up with the questions. I did require that all teachers give the students, it's called a 360 feedback survey. But I told them I didn't want to see the results because it wasn't about that. It was really just inspiration for reflection, I hoped. And students are very honest. And for the most part, they're not cruel at all, And so it was really interesting to hear students say they like rigorous and engaging activities when sometimes we feel like we're doing a favor by making it simple, but it actually just makes them bored. Right? That could be something that you can do. Asking students and getting their feedback. And just because I like to model, I did the same thing. So I gave a 360 evaluation to all of our staff so they can evaluate me. And then I shared what everybody said so everybody could see, because I feel like if I'm going to ask you to do it, I need to do it too, and be courageous also, because it's hard to be reflective and look at yourself. But I would definitely encourage you guys to do that as a strategy, and that will give you the best feedback beyond any benchmarking. But I would just say whatever you use to in terms of tracking data, just always focus on the standards. We get caught up in like the district adopted curriculum, which is a tool to help you teach the standards. And so some people are really creative, and I was like that. I needed to be able to create and do my own thing. But I encourage you as new teachers to, the resources are there to help you as you get your grounding into the profession. But focus on teaching the standards and ask students for feedback. They'll tell you.
So going into SPED and English language learners, how do SPED, general ed, and ELD teachers collaborate within the MTSS framework?
That's such a good question. And I feel like that question makes me realize that I don't create enough opportunities for our staff to do that. Because the way that we're organized on Wednesdays, it's really departmentalized. So subjects, and then my resource department, part of our special education department, they're grouped. And then our special day class teachers, they're grouped. But then there isn't that cross collaboration time. So I appreciate that, because a few of my colleagues, teachers, did say, hey, Dr. Spates, we haven't met as grade levels, because that creates opportunity to do some of that cross collaboration. And so I think an answer could be if that system isn't put in place for you to do that naturally within your work hours, to seek out colleagues and go talk to them and just ask for support on your prep period. So like, hey, what are you doing? Or invite them into your classroom to give you ideas. One thing that we do, I created a structure where teachers can meet during their prep periods. So those groups are mixed. I intentionally built the prep periods because I wanted certain people to work together. But that allows some of that grade level and cross-department collaboration. So if the system doesn't exist, just seek those people out and ask for support. As teachers, you guys should get a copy of every student's IEP and some are written better than others, to be honest. I think our school's great, but spend time looking at it. And the case managers, those are the experts, and ask how to support that student. And then I would say even with students with IEPs, it's also great to see how those students are doing in other classes. So when you find out who you may share a student with, maybe more so in secondary, but see if you can just observe that student in different spaces to just give you some context and some ideas. And then, but really, I just feel like with our gifted second language students, our students with IEPs, our students with individualized GATE plans, I just feel like they keep just be intentional about differentiating instruction all the time and using best instructional practices, because you'll find some of the best practices for English language learners, they're good for all students, right? So it benefits everybody when you use some of the different strategies.
Are there some like differentiation strategies that you have in mind that are, because I know we have to differentiate, and that is something that is really super important, but I always wonder, like, I'm very like, what are the strategies that maybe you use that you've seen that are really effective?
Ooh, I've been out of the classroom for a while. But I would say, like, I think about just people on my campus. So again, like our English language development teacher is phenomenal. So that will allow you to see really cool strategies. Our AVID teacher, those AVID people have really great strategies. And actually, if your school is an AVID school, every teacher has access. It's called myavid.org, where you can just log on and just pull different strategies and activities to use in your classroom. Our district is a Capturing Kids' Hearts district. That's another great bank of resources to pull, especially for the relationship piece. So, and then again, those special education case managers. I think really special education teachers, the resource specialists and SDC, they're just a gold mine of untapped instructional strategies because they are expert at teaching grade level standards to students who need support. They're very creative and they know things that work. So I would tap into those people.
Yeah. Thank you. So I am going to piggyback off of that with more advice for new teachers. Okay. So as we're entering into our second semester, if every new teacher could walk away with at least one actionable tip for supporting diverse learners tomorrow, what would it be? What would you tell them to do?
I know it's a tough one.
It's so interesting. Like I'm seeing like our school climate dashboard in our head. So like January, February are good. But then we start to see an uptick in behaviors in March, in April, in May.
Closer to the end.
Yeah. That's spring. I don't know what happens, but it happens every year. And I know it sounds cliche, but if you haven't taken the time to get to know your students already, do that. Invest in that. And now with AI, there's so many resources. You know, before you used to have to dig about like team building or getting to know you, that type of thing. But now you can just search different activities. And a lot of times we create activities for us to get to know students. But really, too, I would intentionally do things to help students build positive connections with one another. Yeah. Yes. I would invest. I would invest there. Yeah. And then invest even with building relationships with families. And so I know it takes time, but it's worth it. It'll pay huge dividends. And by building relationship with families, just call. So if you have 30 students, one of my awesome principal, Hamish Streeter, who I worked with my first year, hired me as my first administrator. We called the entire school before school started one year. So we just split the population in half and just called to check in and see how things were doing, how things were going, and you get great feedback about what's happening. So I would call family, just break your 30, break your 174, and just do like 5 a day, during your prep period, but to share something positive, find it, dig for it, even if they just like work your nerves, like the last class. But find something, because it'll pay even bigger dividends with that child, because they're not acting out because they're bad, or it can be what Mrs. Wilson, the therapist that I learned so much from, who supports our campus, it could be shame, it could be confidence, it could be hungry, it could be so many things that really have nothing to do with us.
I wanted to add into that, how you mentioned like just calling the parents. I worked with a great mentor, hi Miss Hopper. But she was amazing. She has 30 plus years working with early education. But how you mentioned just picking up the phone, just calling the parents, because that one phone call can really like change the parents, like, oh, wow, okay. The kid gets home, hey, your teacher called me, you did this. And like, it boosts the confidence in the student.
Yes.
And then that's how you start building that relationship. And she was a talker.
Yeah.
She knows she's a talker. But she would always have a great relationship with the parents. They would come up to her, hey, how was your weekend? Like, just beautiful. And like, I picked up on that so much. So then I started doing that my second year.
That's incredible.
And then I saw like how like they were like, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like she was right. But,
How did it impact those students who might have been challenging to you before or challenging in another space?
We had 2 students that were very challenging. And the parents told us before, like, hey, like Christal, she's a challenge, she's off the walls, jumping this and that. But the great student, just we hope you don't just see the bad. And because previously their other teachers only saw the bad, and they would only get calls for bad news. So yeah, he wasn't like, they were a little troubled, but they were so smart, like
so
gifted, like, oh my gosh, like this, like they knew everything, like things that you shouldn't be learning, like you learn in like first grade, they knew already. And like they would help, oh, let me help you, this is how you do it. So like they were the mini teachers. So like we would always call them too, like she'd like, hey, Miss Hopper, she'd like, or sometimes she'd have me do it just like practice. But yeah, she'd like, hey, so Christal did awesome today, like this and that. And like you would see the parents walking up, Christal, like, and it just like I said, just boosts the confidence, and like you just see a shift in like the student and like the relationship.
And it's like you're shifting even to how the student views themselves, right? And it's so interesting that you said that, because my thought is a lot of times when we see those behaviors, because they don't fit inside our box, they're not doing what we want them to do. It's like, oh, they're a problem. But a lot of times my thought with those, they're bored, so I'm like, is this child gifted? And so like there's been students who have had IEPs. I'm like, no, this is like a gifted student, right? But we're just focused on behavior and not really thinking about that root cause.
And that's what she would do too. Like they knew this, she would challenge them. Okay, like she would buy things out of her own expense. Like she would never, like, because that's how awesome of a teacher she was. And she would go to Lakeshore and buy all these things for them to do. And once they managed that, okay, we're doing this one now. Like, so she was teaching, the kids that needed this level, but also this level. And she never saw it as like an issue. It was just always like, I want to teach you too. So when you're in this level, they can go up.
And I love what you said too, which is a great strategy. I just want to pull out, you talked about using students as teachers also. I remember when I taught Avid, I had a student, Ebony. So in Avid, there's tutors, right, who run the groups. And so we just didn't have enough tutors. So I picked like a couple students, like, you're the tutor, right? So I taught them the same way that I would teach the tutors. But she was like one of the strongest tutors, and she wasn't a student, and that helped build her confidence and her leadership ability and helped her even learn the content in a different way, like once you're kind of teaching and facilitating. So thank you for sharing that. Yeah, that's awesome.
That's awesome. And even as you were talking, Yesenia, I was, both of you actually, when you were talking about affirmation, I think it's really important for us with what folks consider older kiddos, but I'm like, they're
babies.
They love affirmation.
Yeah.
Their parents
Humans,
love
right?
the phone
Don't
calls.
we? Like, yes,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So
And it's like you get it less at that age, so give it to them.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's so true. So it probably will have more power, more impact because they're not used to giving it so much. I love
absolutely.
that.
So just remembering that they love the praises too.
How do you, because you're teaching in a classroom now, are you teaching in a classroom now?
I'm a day-to-day sub, but I actually used to work in the Bay Area.
Oh, okay.
I know you're from there.
Yeah.
I worked in a city called Hayward.
Yes.
So I worked in the Hayward Unified School District, and that's how I met Ms. Hopper.
Oh, very nice.
And I was really close with the assistant director, Mitchell Haw. So like them two, like my great mentors.
I love it. Yes.
But I learned so much from them too. So that's how like this started. Actually, Ms. Hopper was the one. She kept pushing like, you need to get your credentials. You need to get your credentials. And I was like, no, like I'm okay. And she's like, no, you need to do it. Yeah. So yeah, that's why I'm here.
I love that.
Amazing.
I asked that too because since you're in the classroom, can you talk about, because I happen to know, but can you talk about some of the ways that you affirm students in your classroom so that we can all learn?
Yeah, so I would say, so one that I love, and they use it in elementary school, secret student. So my kids,
our middle school students love this. They're like, Dr. Spates, I'm a secret student.
They definitely look forward to secret student. So basically the way that I do it with so many kids is there's always one student per class period per week. So they don't know who it is, but I do. And myself, and I actually teach in a co-taught classroom, which is really amazing. So I do have one of those golden eggs to kind of help me out.
Nice.
But yeah, so we just kind of monitor the student, and if they do really well, we have a card that we send home. So their parent gets a note home, letting them know that they're doing a great job. We check off the things they've done. They were respectful. They followed our social contract or whatever it is that they did. And we always write a personalized note on the back as well. So it's not like generic for everybody.
Right.
And kids go crazy for Jolly Ranchers. So it's literally like, I think a bag of Jolly Ranchers is like $12 at Sam's Club. You get endless smiles and it's well worth it. So I would say, so we do that. And then for our entire class reward system, they do Jolly Rancher Wars. So another thing I pulled from the elementary.
That works.
So the class, it's really cool because when we talk about peer help, also you can help your peers by holding them accountable and making sure that you're checking them and making sure that they're following expectations. So they battle period by period, and whatever period wins, they all get a Jolly Rancher at the end of the week.
I love it. Awesome. Thank you guys for sharing.
Absolutely.
I love that. Thank you.
So I am going to actually ask you a couple of questions. We're going to do a little game, just something, you know. So we have a rapid fire game, and so just as quickly as you can, go ahead and answer. So coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Coffee, same.
Yes.
Can I ask hot coffee or iced?
I'm in like an iced coffee thing. Yeah. So I have my protein drink, like over ice. So.
What is one school supply you cannot live without?
I love pretty pens.
Cute pens.
Just anything like pom, just anything.
Very, very nice. And then Spirit Week, love it or leave it.
Love it.
And what's your favorite day for Spirit Week?
Adults dressing like the kids. Or ugly sweater day, then I can wear my UCLA sweater. Just kidding, go Trojans.
And
Love
your
Spirit Week.
best on-the-go snack?
Oh, gosh. Oh, those, is it Dots pretzels? Have you guys seen those? Like at Costco? Are they called? Oh my gosh, you guys.
They're good?
Yes, just like the plain pretzels. They're like seasoned.
Oh my
Do you know
god,
what I'm
they're
talking
in a red bag?
Yes.
Oh, those are so
Oh.
good.
Okay.
Wait,
It's
is
like
it
a
the
red
things?
bag with
Yes.
The stick?
Or there's
Yes.
sticks and
Yeah,
that's
the
what
Did I get the
stick.
name
Yeah,
wrong?
yeah.
What's it
Okay.
called?
I think it is something
something-
like that.
I think it's called dogs.
It
Something
sounds
like that.
familiar.
Okay.
But once you said dog,
Oh.
please, I was like,
Yeah.
And then the Parmesan honey mustard.
A book every new teacher should read.
The Courage to Teach by Parker Palmer. The Courage to Teach, because it really gets to the idea that students choose to learn from you. And so when they are not choosing to learn from you, and I don't know what happens in secondary, definitely not our campus. I saw it in high school with my children. But if half the students are failing, are not learning, 30, 20%, it's not the kids.
Yeah.
Like, it's me, and like, even as a principal, if my kids are not being successful and suspensions are really high in behavior and kids are wandering, they're not in class, like, that's me, right? Like, I set the temperature for my campus. I hold that responsibility. So yeah, sorry, got on a tangent, but reflect. Just as educators, we have to reflect.
Yes.
We have to reflect and not take things personal. Yeah.
And what is one word to describe you?
I would say extra.
In all the good ways.
And extra, even just in the work that we do. But I think extra because you can't outdo care. If all three of you are going into a building and you care, I don't care if there's like a teacher who's been there 20 years, like, you're unmatched and undefeated. You have that extra that you're going to like just come and bring every day because you love your kids, like, you understand why you're doing the work that you're doing. And it's just, our kids deserve the best,
Yes.
So teachers, please make sure your classrooms look nice. But everything that we do, it shows care, right? Like, you've gone into rooms and you can feel it, right? Like, you can feel it, like, when people don't just take that extra time to just create a warm and welcoming environment. And even just as the principal too, right? I try to model that because I want kids to care about the campus. And if they don't, there's going to be like trash everywhere, and it's not perfect, but it gets better and better. In your room, they'll trash it every day if they feel like you don't care and it's not organized and their systems not in place and things are just raggedy. So sorry, I care about this.
No.
Extra.
Everybody knows before we dismiss, 3 pieces of trash on your way out.
Yes, every day. Yes.
That's awesome. So I will say, Dr. Spates, if you have a moment, we will have the holiday cheer in the classroom tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
I'm decorating.
Okay.
It's Christmas time.
I love it.
So that is amazing. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Yesenia.
Okay.
That concludes our podcast. I want to thank you for allowing us to come here and also listen to her podcast. It's on the school bus with Dr. Spates on Apple, Spotify, and YouTube.
Thank you for the opportunity. It was fun.
This is so
Thank
cool.
you.
Thank you, right?
And just come to the best school district. I don't want to say it right now, but just come on over when you're
After
ready.
this conversation,
Come on over. We got you. So thank you so much. Alrighty. So thank you for listening. May you continue to find joy in the work that we get to do every day, and remember to take care of yourself.